Hello, and welcome to History on Blast, episode 39. Not all dogs go to heaven. I'm Hillary, and I'll be your host in this episode as we put an actual Newfoundland on blast for pushing kids in a river. But first, this month in history. From April 3rd to 4th in 1974, the United States and Canada experienced the second largest tornado outbreak on record. There were 148 confirmed tornadoes in the approximately 18 hours, spread across 13 U.S. states and the Canadian province of Ontario. This record was broken in April of 2011 when there were a confirmed 360 tornadoes in just over 3 days, which is so many tornadoes.
Hello everybody, this is Trevor, host of the History of Persia. I'm telling the stories of the empires that dominated the Middle East from the fall of the Assyrians until the rise of Islam. I'll cover topics like the 300 Spartans, the origins of endurance racing, the losing side of Alexander the Great's conquests, and at least one evil priest who replaced and impersonated the king. If those stories and the stories and cultures of Greece and Rome's greatest enemies sound interesting to you, come check out The History of Persia, wherever it is you find your favorite podcasts, like this one.
Okay, so let's talk about this dog. The year, as far as I've been able to determine, is 1908, and we are in the city of Paris in France, right along the banks of the Seine, when a child allegedly falls into the river, and whereupon a Newfoundland dog living in one of the nearby houses happens to be out in the yard, jumps a hedge into the river, and manages a heroic rescue, pulling this child to shore, preventing what would have been their death. The parents of this child are understandably extremely grateful to this good doggo. And after much praise and petting, the dog is given a beefsteak and sent along its way. Now, that would alone be a lovely story of a hero dog saving the day, like, honestly, so many that we have. But then the same thing happened again 2 days later, and once again, our doggo was rewarded with a beefsteak. And then over time, the incidents of children falling in the river only to be rescued by this specific Newfoundland began to rise. It got to the point where the locals in this general area started to be concerned, whereupon they decided that clearly there was some kind of criminal running around pushing children in a river, which is a really unique classification of criminal, and I kind of want to know where they got that idea. I also want to know, like, in my head, this can only be properly portrayed as a sort of Snidely Whiplash, 60s cartoon era villain, like, sneaking up with piano music, twirling their mustache, and then laughing maniacally as they one shove push a child in the river, stand there, laugh, and then scamper away on tiptoes while piano music plays again. But aside from that wild image, things were actually fairly serious in Paris, and they were deeply concerned about this person that they thought were pushing their children in the river. So they decided to form a special watch to see if they could catch this dastardly figure in the act. When who should they find is behind this but the dog? 'Cause apparently this unnamed, or at least the name is unrecorded in history, hero dog was actually the villain the whole time. We can't be certain about some of the earlier incidences, but they did in fact catch this dog in the act, pushing a child in the river, and then going and jumping in to perform the heroic rescue, to then be paid in beefsteak. Yes, that's right. This dog is a con artist. Of the most classical type, in fact. So con artist, the con part of that actually comes from the word confidence, meaning that a con man is getting in the confidence or the trust of the people that they are then working their tricks on, and using that to their advantage. So in this case, the dog didn't really have to do much because we as humans inherently trust our good puppers. So clearly, if a, dog comes to you with a soaking wet child they've just pulled from the river, the dog is the hero here and deserves a reward, and certainly did not push a child in the river. Except that he did. So, that's more or less where our story ends, unfortunately. I can't find any historical sources for what happened to this doggo. However, I can tell you that Europe was no stranger, and even in the US up until the 1920s, we were no stranger to the concept of putting an animal on trial. So, that's possibly something that happened. For example, I happen to know that in 1921, a dog named Dormy was put on trial for murder. Now, what's even more fascinating here is that the victim of this murder was not a human. In fact, Dormy was on trial for being a serial killer who had killed 14 cats. In case you were curious, Dormy was acquitted. He was a purebred Airedale, and one of his character witnesses was another Airedale by the name of Rowdy, who was the brother of Laddie, the purebred Airedale owned by then-President Warren G. Harding. Yes, you heard me right. A dog went on trial and had a character witness that was another dog. So that's going to just about do it for us today. I know this episode is a bit short, but it's sort of what I could do on short notice. I had a whole episode planned out, but I had a feeling that with everything going on, people didn't really want to hear about the Spanish flu, and decided to improvise something a little bit, I would say, more wholesome, but this dog is a criminal. And, as always, I would like to thank Defy the Mall for the use of their song Keeper of Histories for the intro and outro of our program. I would like to remind you that we have a Twitter, there's a Facebook page and group. We have a Discord now, if you're interested in that sort of thing. I am working on my next episode. I'm really hoping to start getting into looking at at history as it's represented in media. I'm going to start playing around with that a little bit. As always, if you have any suggestions, comments, feedback, questions, anything, even if you just want to talk, feel free to reach out to me. Email, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, however you want, go right ahead. Honestly, I'm in a weird place where I'm simultaneously not doing a lot and working a lot because I'm working from home right now. So, yeah, as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you let your friends know if you enjoy what you're hearing. And seriously, if you have ideas for episode topics, I would love to hear them. I'm going to try to start getting some longer episodes, and that means that I need feedback. I need to know, what do you Want to hear me put on blast?